super slow. All right, we're live. So welcome everybody. And we apologize for the slight delay, 15 minutes it's been, for getting on live. We had some technical issues, which is not unusual beginning of the year, but here we are. So look, it's my very great pleasure to introduce my very special guest and friend, and we've known each other for a few years now, and I've watched her grow and blossom and turn into the amazing women's coach that she is today, and also now best-selling author. So yeah, welcome Karishma to the first interview for the year. How are you? How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing awesome. I'm doing really good. So look, we'll get straight into it because we're only going to go for 30 minutes tonight. And we've got so much, like Karishma's got so much she wants to share with you. And I'm so excited about the content and what you'll be talking about. But before we do that, Karishma, I want to ask you a question just to get the people watching a little warmed up around who you are and what got you to where you are. So yeah, my question to you is this: what got you into becoming a women's empowerment coach? How did you get here? Tell us a little bit about the backstory of how you arrived to be the person you are today and to be helping people in the way you do.
Sure. So I am originally from India, for those who haven't guessed it yet. And I came to Australia in 2007 for some further education. And I did my master's here, master's in hospitality, and started working in a hotel, which kind of didn't work for me. It was, I kind of wondered what's wrong with me, because my whole family is kind of an employee mindset, and they all work for other people, and it's work for them, which is great, but it wasn't working for me, working for other people. And at that time, I didn't know anyone else who was an entrepreneur. So I was like surrounded by people who were full of employees, and I was the odd one out. So I was like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I survive in even one job? What's happening with me? So anyways, in my last job, after I got fired from there, all my jobs, either I was fired or I eventually quit after I got sick of my manager. So anyways, my last job, after I was kicked out from there, sadly, I went on a search of trying to find myself and who am I. And like I went into this with the mindset of maybe it will fix myself, because I wanted to find out what's wrong with me. And once maybe I will discover what's wrong with me, I will be able to fix that and hopefully survive in a job. And I went with that mindset. And when I came out of it, I realized that there was nothing wrong with me and I'm all perfect. And eventually I realized how much people have this mentality, and especially women, that they are trying to meet other people's expectations and live their own life based on other people's expectations, like I did for most of my life, like working a job, even though I know that even though I hated it, and even though I kind of intuitively know that it was not right for me, but because my parents wanted me to, my siblings wanted me to, so I forced myself to work into it. So I realized that there is so much potential in this world to so much in this area to explain to women that they don't need to live their life based on other people's expectations, and inspire them to live their life based on fullest potential of what they have, instead of forcing themselves to meet what other people want from them.
So there was a lot there that you shared. Thank you for that. And look, I consider myself to be unemployable now. I hear you about getting fired from the job. And to me, you know, that's, I've been sacked from many jobs. I had like 27 different jobs myself, and I consider myself highly unemployable. In fact, the last thing I would ever do again would be to go back into a job, because I I'm so used to being my own boss now and doing what I want with my time. And B, I hate listening to, I don't like other people telling me what to do at all. So, tell us a little bit before we get into the topic of tonight's content, which of course is around how to become your own soulmate. And tell us a little bit what it was like for you growing up as a young girl and a young woman in an Indian family, because I don't know a lot about what that experience is like. Obviously, I've never been, in that position or in that culture, and also certainly not a female. So, I've heard stories about arranged marriages and, not marrying and everything being controlled by the family. So how was that for you? And how did you break free from, like you talked about, the expectations of your parents and your cultural and traditional kind of, way of life? How did you break free from that mold and not get caught up in what was expected of you?
Growing up, honestly, I thought I was brought up with this mindset that having a boyfriend is bad, and like you shouldn't have someone outside of like having a boyfriend is bad, and let your parents find a partner for you, and you have to be married to that person for life, even though you can't put up with that idiot. So I have my parents had a bit of an abusive relationship where my father was an abusive, and my mother failed to stand up for herself and set powerful boundaries, and she allowed my dad to walk all over her, and that was the model set in front of me. That subconsciously I took up that after I get married, I will have to allow my husband to walk all over me. And now when I look back, I realize how wrong that was, and I wish my mother had shown the courage to walk out of a relationship that wasn't working. But it was her mindset that marriages are forever and till death do us part. So now sadly she is no more, and it was till death did them part, they stayed together, and now my dad is single and my mother is in heaven. And like I do feel kind of she was a loving mother, and I do love her, still love her, I miss her a lot. And but I do feel bad that she didn't set a positive example of what it means to be a wife by allowing her husband to walk all over herself.
So would it be safe to say then, Karishma, that your mother taught you, she taught you the opposite of what you knew to be true for you? She showed you what not to do as a woman. Would it be true to say that she was a role model in a way for you that didn't make sense to you and that you didn't aspire to be like?
Exactly. While she was a loving mother, she was, as a wife, she didn't set that model in front of me, that role model that I needed.
Okay. Yeah. So that probably was when you first felt this, like, there's more for me than this. There's more for me than being somebody that's walked all over, told what to do, treated like shit. Yeah. 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 So how did you navigate that? So obviously, this is about you stepping into your empowerment as a woman too. Well, how difficult was that for you at home?
In India, there is a lot of restrictions, especially for women. There is a lot of restriction, and like in some now, fortunately, they are understanding that how important education is even for women. But in some backward villages in India, they still consider that because she's a woman, she only has to get married and feed her kids and her husband and clean the house. What's the point of sending her to school? So they don't send her to study, and like she stays uneducated, and eventually after she get married, she's dependent on her husband for financially, who can beat her, abuse her, do whatever he wants. And like she can't walk out because she is not educated, so she probably can't find a job unless she like do something which is entrepreneurial, for which she doesn't need to study, I guess.
Yeah, and look, that I can't only imagine what that would be like. So what really intrigues me about what you're saying is, how did you break free from that? How did you break out of that? Out of that kind of. Well, I mean, because honestly, that's a lot of pressure on you to conform to what's expected of you, and to, what was the defining moment for you where you just said, no, this is not, this is who I am, this is what I want, and then you started to walk your own path? What was the defining moment for you? Was there a moment that you can remember where you decided, that's not the way I'm going to go through my life, I don't want that, I'm choosing to be my own woman? Was there a moment that you can remember that stands out for you around that?
Yes, definitely. So fortunately for my parents, even though it was an abusive relationship, they were not so backward to consider that a girl child doesn't need education and all. So they did send me to go to school, college, and everything, and I did perform well in school, and eventually moved out to Australia. At that time, I was still living with that mindset of what I learned in growing up when I came out to Australia. And about when I got fired from my last job, that was the turning point, because I realized that working a job just doesn't work for me. And at that time, even though I was at that time, I went into this personal development journey with the mindset of, maybe I can fix myself. If I can do this, I will fix myself and I will figure out why I can't last in a job. And so that was the turning point where I realized that it just doesn't work for me. Even though I went with the mindset of fixing myself, like when I came out of that, that was basically the turning point, that I realized that I just don't want to do a job, and there is nothing wrong with not having a job.
Yeah. So you realized there was nothing to fix. It was just not that wasn't the model for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, okay, let's leap forward now to, so we've got a bit of a background. Thank you for sharing that. And what kind of shaped your, not only your mindset, but your kind of direction in life as well. And I think a lot of people will relate to that, because, are you hearing me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I think a lot of people can relate to that, because even in today's society, there's still a lot of lingering stuff around the relationship between men and women, and dominant and submissive and all this kind of stuff. And that's changing, of course. Women are swapping roles, becoming the dominant, men the submissive. But I think we're all kind of now moving towards a greater balance in ourselves. So with that in mind, with the topic now, would you speak now to the topic that you were going to talk about, which is how to become your own soulmate? What does that mean, and how do people go about achieving that for themselves? What does it even mean to become your own soulmate, and how do people go about achieving that?
So becoming your own soulmate means falling in love with yourself. It's like accepting yourself just the way you are. Like I accepted myself, that I just can't last in a job because maybe that's the way I am. It's just not my life path. My parents did okay in a job. My dad worked for the same company for over 20 years. My sisters are working in a job, and that worked for them. Good for them. I am happy. But it just doesn't work for me. So instead of finally I was done with that, forcing myself to work a job because my parents said so and my sister said so. I was done with that. So accepting myself just the way you are, and realizing that there is nothing wrong with you, that's what becoming your own soulmate. And one thing I would like to clear in this is, like, when I shared this topic in my Facebook page, maybe I ruffled a few feathers, because some of my friends, I won't mention their name here, but I know they have joined the group, so they are probably watching the interview, and they did ask me that, what do you mean by become your own soulmate? Do you think I should divorce my husband because I'm happily married? Or do you think I should stop looking for a partner? And how is that an integrity for you? Because I know you are looking for a partner. So what do you mean by that? So I told him, okay, how about you join the group and I will answer that question for you in the interview, because if you have that question, I'm sure many other people will have that too.
So what's the answer?
So you don't need to divorce your husband. In fact, I would hate it if someone comes to me that I left my happy married life because you told me become your own soulmate. So please don't divorce your husband if you are happily married. And if you want marriage, definitely go for it. Becoming your own soulmate means falling in love with yourself. But when you accept yourself unconditionally, when you fall in love with yourself, there are more chances of finding a partner who loves you unconditionally along with loving himself or herself unconditionally, depending on what your sexual orientation is. But if you are trying to fill the need inside of you that where is my soulmate, who can make me feel complete, who can make me happy, and if you want to fill that need inside of you from a person outside of you, you will always feel incomplete.
That's a very powerful statement. If you're always looking for love outside of you, you'll always feel incomplete. That is such a powerful statement.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, how funny! I love that you've ruffled a few feathers, because people are funny, aren't they? It's like, these days everyone's so sensitive, and it's really not that difficult from what I can observe to really get under people's skin these days. But I love that you clarified that now. And so those people that are happily married, no, you don't have to divorce your husband or your wife, not unless you're miserable. Why would you want to stay with someone if if you're miserable? But if you're happy, oh my goodness, that's all it takes. So yeah, thank you for clarifying that. And I think it's a great topic, and I love controversy. I love that you have the courage to make a statement that gets people to think, oh wow, okay. Ooh. Because now at least they're thinking in a new way. And it's always good when we challenge our existing thought patterns, because then we can, there's the potential there for us to discover a new way of thinking and even being in our lives. So is there anything else, any last thoughts that you'd like to share, or tips or tools around becoming your own? What's one simple strategy that you can share that you'd like to share, that people can, start to open up to deeper level of self-love and becoming their own soulmate? What's one technique or tool or tip that you can share for us?
So they can get my free book that I have on my website, 10 Secrets to Give Yourself the Love You Deserve. They can read that. And apart from that, I will say having boundaries, standing up for yourself. Like when I was realized that working a job is just not for me, and I've done with it, I said to my dad that I just can't work a job. It just doesn't work for me. You just need to accept me just the way I am. If it doesn't work, I don't care. And he was like perfectly okay that, okay, if you think you can do fine without a job, I am happy. I was worried about your future, that how will you survive financially without a job? But if you think you will do perfectly fine running your own online business, that I'm happy with that. So I was like, wow, that's a relief to hear, because I thought there will be some pushback. So yeah, when you set up your when you say your boundaries, and when you say that just doesn't work for you, most people will respect it. And if they don't respect it, you probably don't want them in your life anyway.
So that's a very powerful strategy. Thank you so much for sharing that. So yeah, setting your own boundaries around, I call that training people how they treat you, or train people how to treat you, because when the way people treat us, it's actually not about them, it's about us. And if we're finding, if you find that people in your life, like Karishma is saying, if you find that people are not respecting you, or in some way taking advantage of you, or trying to manipulate you, or abusing you in some way verbally, then, or even emotionally, then that's really not on them. It's because we're allowing it. And when we set firm boundaries, then people really know where they stand with us. and there are consequences if they cross those boundaries. And for me, that's where I see people actually miss the whole boundary setting thing. They don't set consequences or ramifications for crossing those boundaries and then stand by those consequences. Most people allow themselves to have those boundaries broken, if not shattered, and then there's no consequence. So what you're training people to treat you then is that you don't mean what you say, and that your boundary, you don't really have boundaries, and why should they care?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. We teach people how to treat us. And another thing I will share is like how you can become your own soulmate and like fall in love with yourself. And that is mainly if you are single or even if you are in a relationship, the things you would expect your partner to do for you, maybe you need to do that for yourself. So like if you Gary Chapman love languages, 5 love languages, I'm reminded of that. So if you don't know what that is, maybe you need to do a Google search of 5lovelanguages.com and find out what is your love language. And maybe if it's words of affirmation, and you love your partner telling you how beautiful you are and compliment you, but you yourself are telling yourself how fat you are, or you are stupid, or you are idiot, then don't expect your partner to do that for you when you can't do it for yourself.
Exactly. Yeah, very well said. Well, thank you for that tip. So there's some really juicy stuff that Krishma's shared tonight to help you. And now, Krishma, do you specifically work with women? Are you a women's empowerment coach?
Yes, I specifically work with women.
All right. So I know that you said to me before we started tonight that you had something special to offer. So what is it that you would like to offer to people so that they can get some more of you?
Yes, so as I already shared, like I have written a free book, which they can get on my website. Along with that, I have written one more book, and they can get that on my website too. And that is a paid book, and I would appreciate it if they buy, and they will obviously get a lot of value from it.
Will you put the link actually, if you send me the link to your website, I'll put it in the description under the video, but will you also in the comments, will you put it in the comments as well, the link to your website where people can get your book? What's your book called?
It is Manifesting Queen. So it's all about manifesting, and like it is about 21 women who have shared their story of how they hit rock bottom and then they turn their life around. So
oh wow,
one of the chapter in that is mine, in which I talked about my growing up, of how I got the upbringing in my India of restricted and controlled, and then I finally break free of that after hitting rock bottom and telling myself I'm done with living that life and I better start living my life based on how I want to live, not how other people expect me to live.
That sounds so powerful. 21 stories of women that have hit rock bottom and then come back up to the top. That sounds like an absolute amazing book. Manifesting Queen. You heard it from Karishma, Manifesting Queen. She'll have the link. There'll be the link to the website underneath the video description, and also in the comments. So please do yourself a favor. Go ahead and get yourself a copy of Karishma's book, best-selling book. And I know you'll love it. And yeah, any last words that you'd like to share before we finish up, Karishma?
Yes, I would say fall in love with yourself, love yourself unconditionally, have powerful boundaries, and don't let anyone else walk all over you, even if that's your husband or parents or whosoever in your life. If that relationship doesn't work, then they can't respect your boundary, block them, done for. You don't need to, just because they are your blood family doesn't mean you have to stay in touch with them forever, even if they don't respect you.
I love that. That's fantastic advice. Fall in love with yourself first. And you know what? The reality is, if we don't love ourselves, And how can we possibly expect anyone else to love us, really?
Exactly.
So, look, I want to thank you so much for your time tonight and for your insights and your wisdom, for your knowledge and for your energy and, just your humor as well. Christmas got such, as you can feel listening to her, she's so passionate about what she does and about the people that she works with. So if you feel drawn to Krishma, do you have a group as well, like a group that people can come to?
Yes, so I have a Facebook group, Self-Love Secrets for Women. It's only for women since I only work with them. But
so if
if you are a woman, you are welcome to join. Yeah?
So if I wear a wig, can I get in?
I think your wife can get in if she wants.
I can change my voice. All right. So what was it called? Secrets for Women?
Self-Love Secrets for Women.
Self-love secrets. So yeah. So so please go ahead and join Krishma in Self-Love Secrets for Women. It sounds like a really juicy group. I'll be in there with my wig on. You won't notice me because I'll be in complete disguise. But have fun there. Please join her there. Also, grab yourself a copy of her book. And thank you so much for joining us tonight. It was a pleasure having you on, Krishma. And wishing you all the best for your book success. I know it's already a bestseller. So let's see where else it takes you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, much love to everybody watching. And stay tuned for whenever we come on, have our next interview, whoever that might be. Stay tuned because this year we're going to rock it. Have a good night, everybody. Much love and namaste.
Thank you. Bye-bye.